I am Will Scott. Welcome into Dolphins Today, and there has been some Dolphins news dropping all morning long. We are going to get to that in a second. Here is what is going on with the Miami Dolphins. Mike Gesicki is being shopped. This is a report from PFF that Mike Gesicki is involved in trade talks. Also, the Dolphins have brought in Trey Flowers for a workout. He is working out for the Miami Dolphins today, a free agent linebacker. And you know what I'm about to tell you. This is why you should subscribe, because when Dolphins news happens, we have you covered. Subscribe. It's the best way to stay in the loop with Dolphins news. Let's start with Mike Gesicki, because Doug Kyed reported this morning. The Dolphins have brought up tight end Mike Gesicki's name in trade discussions per a league source. This, of course, comes after we talked about the other day that Mike Gesicki is kind of having a tough time transitioning to this new offense. Here's what Kyed said in an article on PFF. The Dolphins, of course, would not cut Gesicki, who's playing on a fully guaranteed franchise tag this season, but a trade isn't out of the question. In fact, the Dolphins have brought up Gesicki's name to other teams, a league source told PFF. That doesn't mean anything will transpire, but Miami has been willing to engage in conversations. On top of that, Gesicki is set to make nearly $11 million in 2022, and he played the entire first half of Saturday's preseason game against the Raiders, staying in the game long after other offensive starters, such as Tua Tagovailoa, said Wilson, Durham Smythe, and others had departed. And that's because Gesicki has admitted he's learning a new position this season. He previously was a big receiver. Now he's a tight end. And in new head coach Mike McDaniel's offense, he'll be expected to block. Before I get into my thoughts on everything, I want to hear your thoughts. Should the Dolphins trade Mike Gesicki? Do you want to trade Mike Gesicki? Type T for trade or type D for don't down in the comments. It is the pinned comment on today's video. When an ad break comes, go down, chime in. Do you want to trade Mike Gesicki? I do not think the Dolphins should trade Mike Gesicki, and we're going to go over a pros and cons list in a second. But, again, I'm going to reiterate what I said on my show Monday. I think it'd be very premature to trade Gesicki, and I understand that he's a free agent, that he's going to leave in free agency next year probably anyway, so you might as well trade him and get something in return. I can understand the thinking there, but you'd be taking away a pretty big weapon for Tua Tagovailoa. Now, we do have this update from Barry Jackson from training camp today. Gesicki in some discomfort on sideline with upper body issue. We're not supposed to speculate on nature of injuries per team. Then we had this update. And Gesicki is back in team drills with Eagles after leaving briefly with upper body issues. So that would not have been ideal if Gesicki was hurt because, number one, you'd have been losing your starting tight end. Number two, that would have diminished any trade value whatsoever. So Gesicki is coming off of the best season of his career, arguably. A career-high 73 receptions in 2021. He's set to be a free agent after this season. So that's probably the thinking with Chris Grier. Trade him now, get something in return. You're probably going to lose him next offseason. And he's having to block more in McDaniel's offense, which has been somewhat of a tough adjustment. We went over his PFF grades the other day. They were not good. He's been a bad blocker his entire career. Now he's being asked to block more in Mike McDaniel's offense, which has been a tough adjustment, which has led to some speculation on if a trade could happen. We heard from Doug Kyed this morning of PFF that a trade with Gesicki is possible. The Dolphins have included him in trade talks. So Mike Gesicki is someone you look at, and he's a very big weapon, right? But the blocking is the issue. Last year he had 73 receptions. That ranked fifth amongst all NFL tight ends, 780 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he's a weapon, like I said, but the blocking is the concern with him. So let's go over the pros and cons here. Pro, if you trade him, that's maybe the right call because you're going to lose him in free agency, get something in return. The biggest con, is it takes away a weapon from Tua Tagovailoa. Another pro, he might not fit in this offense. We've heard some concerns about his fit in this offense. And maybe another con is that Durham Smythe would be your first tight end. I like Durham Smythe. He's a solid backup tight end. But is he capable of being a solid starting tight end? I don't know about that. I do know that you should go to BetUS and use promo code Dolphins125 for a 125% deposit bonus. That's the link right there, chatsports.com/bet. Again, promo code Dolphins125. If you use that promo code, you can get a 125% deposit bonus to bet with. Again, chatsports.com/bet. Here is the total and the spread for Saturday's preseason game against Philadelphia. The favorite is the Dolphins at -3.5. Total is 38.5. So the Dolphins a 3.5-point favorite on Saturday against Philadelphia. Let's go back to this tight end situation, because this would be your tight end depth chart if you trade Mike Gesicki. Durham Smythe would be your first tight end. Hunter Long would be your second tight end, a third-round pick in 2021 out of Boston College. And perhaps the most interesting thing about what we're looking at right here is that Tanner Conner would be your third tight end. He was the sixth tight end not too long ago, but I expect him to beat out Ethan Carter. Mike Gesicki in this situation would be traded, and then you have Adam Shaheen on the IR. So Tanner Conner would probably make this football team. However, he's missed the last couple practices, missed the last preseason game with an injury. Here's what Durham Smythe did last season. 34 receptions, no touchdowns, 357 yards. You'd be looking at Smythe as your first tight end if you trade Mike Gesicki. And the Tanner Conner, as I mentioned, would probably make this football team. A UDFA out of Idaho State. Played wide receiver at Idaho State, and he's really impressed in camp transitioning to that tight end position. 3 receptions in his first preseason game. Hopefully we see him on Saturday. Now, would you be comfortable with the tight end room without Mike Gesicki? Type Y for yes or type N for no. It'd be Smythe, Hunter Long, probably Tanner Conner, 1, 2, and 3. Are you comfortable with that? Go down in the comments section. Let me know if you'd be comfortable without Mike Gesicki looking at that tight end room. I don't think I would trade Gesicki unless the price is right. And when I say that, you'd have to get probably a third-round pick maybe for him. I don't know if that's realistic. It might be. And I would probably want offensive linemen involved, right? Give a team Mike Gesicki that needs a tight end. Take away from them an offensive lineman, because you really need to bolster this offensive line. I'm not currently comfortable with this offensive line. I would love this trade if you get a pretty solid lineman in return. Now let's get to this next news, because Trey Flowers might be coming to the Miami Dolphins. One of the top linebackers available in NFL free agency. Is him signing with Miami possible? Yes, because we heard this from Tom Pelissero. The Dolphins are working out veteran outside linebacker Trey Flowers. Sources tell Ian Rappaport and me. A 2-time Super Bowl champ with the Patriots. Flowers was released by the Lions in March. He just turned 29. Barry Jackson noted this. Dolphins work out Trey Flowers coincides with the continued absence of Andrew Van Ginkel. We don't know what's going on with AVG. We do know that he's missed the last couple of practices with an undisclosed injury. Flowers had 1.5 sacks, 24 tackles last season, played for the Lions the last 3 seasons, started his career in New England, so we have some familiarity because we saw him a lot in the division. 2015 to 2018, he played with the Patriots. But he was released by the Lions in March in a salary cap dump. Since has been one of the top linebackers available in free agency. However, injury concerns are there. Just 14 games played the last 2 seasons with Flowers. He had a broken forearm in 2020, missed the last 9 games of that season, a knee injury in 2021, just played in 7 games last season. Here's what he did last season. 24 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 3 QB hits, 1.5 sacks. Pretty solid player, but doesn't make sense to add him to this linebacker room. We've talked about the Dolphins maybe needing more depth at this position, but Cameron Goode has looked really good, and he's probably not even going to make the team. You look at some other guys, they obviously cut DeAndre Johnson yesterday, who I know a lot of y'all are really high on, but he was a UDFA. Jalen Phillips, Jerome Baker, Landon Roberts, and Melvin Ingram right now slated to be the starting linebackers on this team. Now, do you want to sign Trey Flowers? Type S for sign or type P for pass. Down in the comments section, go down, chime in. Do you want to bring in a linebacker in NFL free agency? Would it kill Chris Greer to sign offensive linemen? I mean, we keep seeing these other guys being brought in. They signed Mohamed Sanu. Now they're working out Trey Flowers. Just sign an offensive lineman. We've seen in the first 2 preseason games that the offensive line remains clearly the biggest weakness on this team, please sign an offensive lineman. Sure, you can sign Flowers, but sign offensive lineman as well this week before we get into the last preseason game and then the regular season coming up on September 11th. Turn on your notifications because when Dolphins news breaks, that's the best way to stay in the loop. And they might sign Trey Flowers by the end of the day, depending on how that workout went this morning. Go down, turn on your notifications. Thanks for watching this edition of Dolphins Today. We'll keep you posted if any news breaks.